34-point blowout win against the Sixers to ring in the new year. That's the way you do it. Putting that Cavaliers game in the past where the Warriors shot 33.3%, their worst field goal percentage of the year. How about following that up by shooting, I don't know, 60.9% from the field? He's Dalton Johnson. I'm Kerith Burke. This is Dub Talk, brought to you by Mancini Sleep World. The story of this game, though, was, of course, Steph Curry. He hit the opening three of the game, and I thought, interesting. What were you thinking when you see Steph go 8 for 8 plus 10 assists?
Well, Steph Curry on that first three-pointer, he celebrated like the ball just dropped, like they were ringing in the new year. He threw his fist up. You could tell he was ready, and the juices were just flowing from the get-go for the entire team. This was a Steph Curry night, but this was also a Steph Curry help night. So it was a beautiful all-around game for the Warriors, but of course, Kerith, this was a night to remember for anyone in the building watching Steph Curry put on an absolute show against the Philadelphia 76ers.
All right, so part of the show is watching his celebrations and watching everybody just freak out. And this was an interesting night because Steph popped up on the injury report with a sprained right thumb. What sprain? What sprain tonight? Do you think he'll be superstitious and wrap the thumb again, even if he needs it, like for the next game?
Well, how about this? Draymond Green told us after the game that Steph basically did everything left-handed in practice just yesterday. And then he comes out and has a game like that. I mean, the guy is just one of one, quite literally. 30 for 30 tonight. But like you said, I mean, 8 for 8 from three-point range, plus the 10 assists. You talk about a point guard. I mean, that's exactly what you can only hope and dream of getting from a player in that position with the ball in his hands.
Yeah, Draymond told me there was a question about whether Steph would even play in this game, and then Moses Moody backed that up too. He's like, yeah, he was shooting with his left. He was fine at practice. It's like, okay, that's Steph Curry for you. 8 for 8. He had 8 threes against the Lakers, so Steph is on one. And yes, the 10 assists also impressive. That kind of fits into a game where you can see that there was a difference in ball movement tonight, and what that helped was making sure everybody could eat. 7 Warriors in double-digit scoring. What was the difference you saw in this game compared to the Cavs game?
You brought it up right away. The ball movement was just flowing. This felt like old-school Warriors basketball. The first quarter, they made 13 shots. All 13 were assisted. I believe they wound up with 42 assists on 53 made shots. So again, it wasn't just the first quarter. The first quarter set a tone that we're going to get into, but it just kept going. The ball never stopped. It wasn't a one-on-one show. No. This was Warriors basketball. This is what Steve Kerr preaches every single day to his group.
Lots of role players making a huge mark in this one as well, and Steve Kerr made a point to point out Jonathan Kuminga actually right now feeling comfortable. How are you seeing that?
I think Jonathan Kuminga just understands his role so well. You know, he knows, okay, if I don't get the ball right now, I'm going to move it because I'm going to get it back to me. I know that I can just run into 20 points. I thought it was great to see kind of a quiet 20-point game, and I don't mean that in a negative at all. I mean that in a total positive, that he didn't need to go on a 14-point burst for one quarter. He just slowly but surely each quarter got to 20 points, wind up with 25 and 5. Yeah. You get that from a 22-year-old Jonathan Kuminga, good things are going to happen, like a 34-point win.
Well, and I think there's also a comfort and a confidence that even though he's not starting at the moment, he's going to get high minutes. He's going to get starters minutes, basically off the bench. And we're seeing a body of work right now where he had a 34-point game, then a 34-point game, then he puts together an impactful performance like this. So he just looks comfortable. I would say, this is so obvious. This is the best stretch of his career right now, but he doesn't necessarily need to be a starter to achieve this.
Which is huge, right? I mean, just think about mentally. You're a top draft pick. You obviously are in a contract year. You're being told, hey, you're going to be a starter. A few games later, you're back to the bench, and you might get a little confused. Hey, where exactly
even
do
upset,
I fit?
Truthfully.
For sure, and which is, again, understandable.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be like that at 33 years old,
like,
but at 22, yeah, of course. Somebody that has that much talent. So I think for him to take a deep breath, fully understand where he fits on this team, and even coming off the bench, you are still a huge part of this game, a huge part of this team, huge part of winning for the Warriors. I think he will 100% be in closing lineups because they need his punch, they need his jolt, they need this kind of athleticism. Without him, they are a different team, Kerith.
I'm looking at Jonathan Kuminga had 2 3-pointers in this game as well. The whole team just had it flowing tonight. 22 threes overall in this one, really giving them that separation, especially in the first quarter when the Sixers had 0 threes. That's where the Warriors built this massive lead and held it. One of the guys who had his 3-point shot going early, Dennis Schroder. What do you think about his game?
I think it was his best game in a Warriors jersey, by far, easily. This was the Dennis Schroder that the Warriors envisioned playing fast, being a total pest on defense, and yeah, finding his shot early. I thought that was huge for Dennis Schroder. Was 3 for 3 in the first quarter.
Yes.
That before tonight was the most he's made an entire game for the Warriors. 15 points, by far the most in a Warriors jersey. I believe he was a plus 17 coming into this game as well. He only had one game as a Warrior with a positive plus minus. So this was the combo guard that the Warriors saw when they acquired Dennis Schroder. Not just the 15 points, the assists, the 2 steals. Look at Tyrese Maxey. I think he was 4 for 13 overall. Might have been a minus 24.
Right. Yep.
And Dennis Schroder was all over him, just right up in his body for all 94 feet throughout the game. I thought one of Dennis Schroder's best plays of the game was in the third quarter. Draymond has a turnover. What looks like it should be an easy layup for Tyrese Maxey, but no. Dennis Schroder sprints down the court. Andrew Wiggins was right there too, and Dennis Schroder jumps with him and is just like right in his way, and he misses a layup. Tyrese Maxey, who was a young star in this league, and that's where the Warriors are like, oh, that's the kind of jolt that Dennis Schroder can bring the energy on both sides for us.
Dennis Schroder came to this team on December 15th. He's only played 8 games with the Warriors. This was number 8. He deserves some time to acclimate to this team because it is different.
For sure.
Different. The movement is different when you play on the floor with Steph Curry. I mean, it took, Monty likes to bring up this point, our friend Monty Poole, the Warriors insider, it took Kevin Durant about half a season to figure out how to do this. It is a challenge, although a welcome one. You want to play alongside Hall of Famers. But to be dropped in, it's not even mid-season, but early in the season to a brand new team, it's just not easy being the new guy.
It's not easy at all. You think about mental, you think about physically, you're right. It takes a while to get used to a Steph Curry. Steve Curry even said after the game, like, we're asking Dennis to play even faster than he's used to. This was one of the quickest players in the entire NBA. But it's about, okay, if you don't have the ball, sprint down the floor, keep the movement going, because the chaos that can be created with both him and Steph, and especially once Dennis Schroder is really seen as an offensive weapon for the Warriors, that's just going to open up so many different things. So again, I think that this was the player that the Warriors really envisioned when they went out and got Dennis Schroder the exact moment that they could.
Also, when you ask a player to play faster, sometimes that could lead to more mistakes. You don't want to be like, frantic out there. No turnovers for Dennis Schroder.
Wow, great point.
In this game. Hey, looking at the starting lineup tonight, I feel like the Warriors are finally starting to arrive at their starting 5, given that everybody is healthy at the moment. But that means Trace Jackson-Davis is playing at center. That means Draymond can play at the 4, so it's not as taxing on his body. And we saw a huge play early on from TJD, unafraid, ready to run through Joel Embiid to get this monster dunk. Little stare down. Was he looking at the bench or Embiid? What do you think?
I hope a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Like, what's up, big fella? Okay, what's up, bench? Like, this is me. This is who I am. I love to see it. This is who Trace Jackson-Davis has been lately, though. You're feeling his impact with everything he does, Kerith. It's really fun to watch.
In this game, 1 for 5, we just showed you his one. It was that monster dunk. But as far as body of work, again, for a younger player showing up for his team, had those consecutive double-doubles, and just really feels like he's comfortable as well in understanding what the team wants from him.
It just really reminds me of the player that he was towards the end of last season, where he got thrown into the starting rotation the final month, and you just see kind of this second-year leap, because at the beginning of the season, he looked solid, then he kind of had a little bit of a dry spell. And again, he's young. It's his second year in the NBA, and now you just see him in the rhythm, in the flow, and being like, oh, this is my role. This is how I fit, and I can be really strong and aggressive within my role.
Yeah, the Warriors had such a commanding lead. This was the type of game where in the fourth quarter, Steve Kerr could pull his starters, could pull his main guys out around the 8-minute mark, so the role players had an even bigger role in this one. Before that, Moses Moody had his shot. Before that, Lindy Waters had his shot. When you talk about these guys, Moses Moody especially, we always come back to the idea that he makes the most of his time. What do you think about the rhythm he found in this game?
I think it's huge for a young player, but also someone who has been dealing with injuries, who was out for a handful of games with injury and just came back with 2 really good performances. I mean, he was maybe the best Warrior on the floor against the Cavs. I think he had 19 points. You know, and for him to find that 3-point shot in confidence without hesitation. I mean, you're looking at some of these highlights, and it's just catch, shoot, whether it's Moses Moody, whether it's a Lindy Waters like that. In the first half, I think the Warriors had 6 players who scored at least 8 points, and that just continued to the second half, Kerith. That's the reason it was a 30-point victory, not just because of Steph Curry having a bit of a Curry flurry in that third quarter, but it's the balanced attack. So really great to see Moses Moody, especially, like I said, after missing a chunk of games with that injury.
Yeah, you're right. That was a good recall because Moses Moody was the leading scorer against the Cavaliers with those 19. So it almost felt like he's like, okay, let me put this together. Let me make the most of my moments and string together some good games. Lindy Waters as well having his shot going on. The ball movement here, when you can see everybody getting a taste, what do you think that does for morale in shooting and knowing the ball's going to come back to you?
Everything. I think it just sets a tone from the start. Like I brought up with the first quarter, 13 for 13. Like that doesn't happen, especially just all the stars that are in the NBA. You think about it, there's going to be times throughout a game where it's going to be a little bit of a one-on-one show, but that's just not Steve Kerr basketball. That's not Warriors basketball. And so I think for them to be able to go, okay, we had 2 days away from a game. We have this new year. It feels like a fresh slate. And that's just kind of, again, from that first Steph Curry three-pointer, it just felt like a breath of fresh air throughout chasing our day, where it's like, okay, we got something new. We can wipe away all of 2024. And the ball, again, it was moving. And you think about any kind of player, you're a role player, you get the ball in your hands, and you get the ball from a Steph Curry, and you're like, oh, it's my turn? Like, that has to feel really good and really empowering for any player.
I feel like it's a sportscaster joke to be like, undefeated in the new year.
Yeah, right.
Everybody makes it. I know. It is a lot of fun to talk about this, but we don't want to overreact. This is, I'm really glad that we are not talking about a clutch game. That definitely feels good. But again, no overreactions to this one game in 2025. So when we come back on Dubs Talk, brought to you by Mancini Sleep World, we got to get to Dalton's grades because he checked in with this team. Okay, 32 games is when you wrote your article. Tonight was game 33. What's the grade on offense? What's the grade on defense? We'll discuss when we come back.
Dubs Talk Live is presented by Mancini's Sleep World. At Mancini's Sleep World, every mattress is backed by our Rest Easy promise of a 365-day comfort guarantee with the lowest prices and free next-day delivery. Visit sleepworld.com.
Trying to get my computer to work. There you go. First comment I see from Andas. Hello, I recognize your name. Sixers played with no effort. Embiid didn't look like he put in a lot of effort, especially on defense. His body language was bad. Okay, so the Sixers tonight, they're coming in off a back-to-back. They lost an awful game against the Kings, one that they really should have won. Embiid had 13 points in the second quarter or third quarter?
I think it was
the second.
He had that stretch where it felt like he just kept getting in the free throw line, too.
He did have a surge, but you could tell that he was not full speed. He was hobbled by the left foot injury. And it just feels like he's been hobbled all season.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, so you could see, I was watching him, he was barely jogging up the floor. So sometimes in this game it felt like it was 4-on-5, which, hey, the Warriors
yes, they will. Yes, they will.
Yeah.
When he's on, he's dominant. We know
absolutely.
that, right? But I mean, I think from the summer even to now, he hasn't really had a stretch of being a 100% by any means.
All right. I see your note that my mic is low. I will shout if I need to. I'll do my best. Happy New Year, guys. Thank you, everybody. Lots of emojis in this. Appreciate that one.
Smiles,
Kerr's best move was not subbing out Steph in the third quarter. I think there was some banter about that, right, on TNT? Yes.
Well, there's also been some banter, some question to Steve Kerr about that, and Steve was going to take him out.
Yeah.
But Dennis Schroder actually was like,
no,
give him like this go, three-pointer.
Yeah.
They even asked Steph like, you good? And he's like, I'm good.
Yeah. Let him cook.
And I think he made 3 threes right there. Yeah.
Yeah. Let him cook. What the heck?
Exactly.
Can you repeat that, Vince? Vince is our producer. What were you saying about what we're doing for the B block? Oh, great. Okay. We're back on Dubstock, brought to you by Mancini Sleep World. Number 30 rings in the new year with 30 points, 8 of 8 from 3. And Dalton, he just sat down at the podium. Let's take a listen.
Steph, you're the first in NBA history to go 8 for 8 from 3 and have 10 assists in the game. And I think the 8 for 8 is the most made threes you've had yourself, your personal high. What was tonight like for you, especially with your thumb? And Like, where did even the bank three? Did you just know it was going to be your night?
First off, thanks for making up in a stat that I could be the first at. That's pretty cool. I didn't really think nothing of it. Sometimes when you have like a little injury or something that's random, it kind of forces you to focus a little bit. And just be free, just happy that I got to play because I was kind of unsure going into the day. But I didn't get many attempts. I got up in the first half, but all 4 of them were really good in rhythm shots. And then from there, you kind of just flowing off of the joy of, things going our way and having a day where, Dennis hit 3 in the first half. JK came in, hit some big shots. Moses, like everybody was kind of just feeling the rhythm of the night, and those last 3, the glass ones, just that is your night, and you just gotta laugh and have some fun with it.
Last game you said that you guys were average, but tonight, I mean, it was completely different, and you didn't lose the league. What do you think the adjustments were to make things so easy?
Make shots. I mean, when you make shots, everybody feels good, and it helps your defense because you stay engaged. And we've had a long run where shots just weren't falling. I think this is the first time we've shot over 50% in a long time. So it's, yeah, I mean, that helps. And you just want to maintain confidence. I know what I said last game, and I meant it because we are, you are what your record says you are. And we have been playing below average basketball for a long time. Obviously, I take accountability for a lot of that. And at the end of the day, you just want to play free and have fun. I celebrated my first 3 and just to try to infuse some joy into the game. So we have to try to maintain that, even if, shots don't fall for a certain stretch of a game. Just stay locked in.
Steph, how difficult was it to go 8 for 8 from 3 and only take 8 threes?
That was the weird part because, like I said, I shot 4 of them in the first half, I think, and their defense, they were trying to force everything into the paint, switching, but we were moving the ball all over the place. So eventually, you're gonna get looks. You just gotta stay patient. It's easy when you are making all of them, but it's one of those games, too, where I didn't necessarily feel like you need to force anything. And only thing I would have wished I would have forced if Raymond would have yelled that I think 9 is the record for most makes. I would have forced one after that, but I didn't know.
Steph, Philly obviously came out tonight to try to shut you down, but as the first quarter, you kind of alluded to it, as other guys are starting to hit shots for you guys, how much did that change and open up the court for you?
Well, opening up the court, it just makes you think about every option that we have out there. Like, obviously, 42 assists is indicative of good ball movement or good organization, taking care of the possessions, finding the open guy, and no matter who gets it, they can finish the possession with a shot. So my game was indicative of how we all played, and it was a beautiful, brand of basketball. And it seemed like everybody who stepped foot on the floor had conviction about what they were trying to do, and we need to maintain that.
Steph, how would you sort of describe Draymond's season to this point and the impact he's had? I mean, we've seen it for years, but, had some turbulence last season. Obviously, was out for stretches, and this year it seems like tonight, I mean, he kind of gets lost in the shadows, but 15, 7, and 6. And he seems sort of renewed vigor on defense, too. I'm just curious how you would sort of characterize what he means to this team in trying to get you guys going.
I think since the second half of last year and this whole year, we've had our team kind of down spurts, and it's been frustrating at times, but I think he's just made it about basketball. And for him, he made that commitment last year, and I think he's lived up to it. To your point, some nights it won't show up in the stat sheet, sometimes it will. His defensive effort and his leadership on that end of the floor has been great. taking on, the challenge, putting his body on the line. I know there's a whole lot of talk about what position he plays and all that other stuff. Like, he makes winning plays, and when the offense is there too, it's an added bonus. So you want him taking the shots that when he's open, knocking them down like he's been doing. It gives us such a big boost when he's confident especially from three. But then defensively, you don't want to take it for granted. To your point, he's a master on that end of the floor, and he's continued to show it.
How consequential was pace and tempo tonight, and just what went into sustaining that for the course of 4 quarters?
Last game against Cleveland, we had it in the first half, and then when shots stopped falling, it's human nature. You kind of get a little defeated, and that affects, your first 3 steps either direction. It affects the trust to move the ball. Tonight, we were rewarded with that effort early because guys were knocking down shots. It was just contagious, and for us, the way that we play and the way that we're going to be successful, it has to be that for that style for as long as you can sustain it. We talk about it in practice. We talk about it in timeouts, pregame, like whatever. The execution hasn't always been there.
I remember the conversation in Phoenix after the loss about the 13-man rotation, and you even saying the need to trim it a little bit. It's 9 tonight. It's kind of being pretty consistently trimmed now down. I mean, how much do you think that is helping?
Asking a lot of the guys over the course of the season, it's great when you're winning, and it's tough when you're not, because it's the way this league works, obviously, and kind of the predictability of knowing when you're going to be in, who you're going to be out there with, that does matter. Guys having an understanding of where their possible shots are going to come from and starting to get, a rhythm. We've talked about it, obviously, as of late. I know BP's out, and he's part of that 9-10, rotation, whatever it is. And you even got Kyle and Loon, who have played significant roles for us at certain parts of the season, not get minutes. So, again, it's tough because that's the challenge of this team. But I think narrowing the roles and the rotation just helps everybody, because you start to build a little bit of chemistry. It's not an easy thing, and will continue to be a challenge for us until it's not. But, it's one of those things about our identity as a team that we have to keep addressing and staying locked in on.
Hey, Steph. I spoke to a 101-year-old woman this evening. She said she was going to be your lucky charm tonight, and I think they rolled her out at halftime. You had a chance to have an exchange with her. What was that all about?
That's a strong way to put it right there. Chatting Q straight. I just appreciate her support of our team, the fact that she says she's over a century old and still, Dub Nation through and through. So I shook her hand and took a picture, and I haven't missed since.
Hey, Steph, if I...
The always thoughtful and humorous Steph Curry. All right, let's see if the Warriors can continue their winning ways. The schedule is up next.
Well.
Otis just said, wow, 101 years old. So I think I saw something about this pregame. If I'm thinking of the right person, it's the woman who is now like the embodiment of Rosie the Riveter. So somebody who served during World War II, served in whichever, shoot, I wish I had that information in front of me. But it's really cool that she was here. She's one of the last survivors of somebody who served in World War II. Yeah. I think I saw her. I wish I could have seen that exchange with Steph. Because
that's really cool. Yeah,
that's really cool.
He hasn't missed since, like he said, from 3.
Like, dang, yeah. I mean, Steph will take a Lucky Charm, sure.
Of course.
She can claim that. Come on. You deserve it, Rosie. Yeah. Very nice.
Cheers to you, Rosie.
Yeah. I don't know if we're going to have a chance to talk about this at our next block. So how about Steph All-Star? The first fan votes are in right now. Right now he's behind Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Luka. As far as starters go in the backcourt, which is interesting. But Luka is also out with a calf strain, and I wonder if it's going to be just a slight dip for him, like out of sight, out of mind for fans voting around the country instead of just the Dallas fans. So I wonder if Steph could sneak into that starting lineup, especially here at Chase Center.
It feels so weird to like not see him number one for the guards, and yeah, it is going to be at Chase Center. Like this should be a Steph Curry show, not just for this year, but for the culmination of his career.
Yeah.
Like he deserves this kind of All-Star celebration for
Yeah.
him. So he's going to be an All-Star. I will say, like the Western Conference guards, it is a loaded group. I
It's a
mean,
lot.
like you're going to have some snubs that are multiple snubs, and like you would understand why they're going, how am I not an All-Star? But Steph, he's got to be here. But I expect him to get a little bit of boost. Come on, guys,
Listen,
give him a little boost
I
in
would
the
say
votes.
the voting is strong after a game like this. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, you should be. You would think. Yeah.
There you go.
Just ask Rosie. What?
We're back on Dubstock with a look at the schedule. Can the Warriors keep the good vibes going in 2025? Undefeated so far. All right. They have a back-to-back this weekend. The Grizzlies come to town, and then the Kings with their new coach. The Heat come to town after that, and then the Warriors hit the road. You can see another back-to-back on the schedule there as well. Did you see Jimmy Butler's post-game comments?
I couldn't miss it. And
Okay.
of course I saw. Yeah.
Interesting. All right, so I wonder, do you think Jimmy Butler will be a member of the Heat by the time that game rolls around?
I do. I do think he'll be a member of the Heat by the time that game rolls around. I'm not sure how much longer, but it sure adds drama to that game for a handful of reasons.
If you want to read more about Jimmy Butler, you can find that on NBCWarriors.com. Real quick, the All-Star votes are in. The first fan votes are in. It looks like right now Steph is third in the West backcourt, so behind Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Yes, and Luka Doncic right there. We were saying that Luka, though, right now is out with a calf sprain, so maybe Steph, with enough, after a performance like this and just like being in the forefront of what the NBA is doing right now as Luka has to take some rest for his calf, maybe he could be a starter for the West.
I wouldn't be surprised. Exactly. It's here at Chase Center. This is going to be a celebration of Steph Curry, not just for this season and his 16th season, but for the culmination of his career. This should be all about Steph Curry and the Warriors here. So, yeah, I would love to see Steph Curry in the starting lineup, but there's definitely going to be how many Steph Curry jerseys are we going to see? How many different versions, too?
Yeah.
All-Star game jerseys, old school jerseys. So, yeah, there's going to be Steph Curry celebrations galore here at Chase Center.
I mean, he was the MVP of the last one. Like, it's crazy. I mean, he knows how to put on a show. And if there's a script or if there are puppet strings or whatever, the NBA wants him.
They sure. Oh my God! Yeah. Adam Silver's like, vote now.
Vote. He's like
Yes.
pressing his vote. Yeah, there's no doubt this stuff will be an All-Star this season, and that's gonna be a lot of fun to see that here at Chase Center. Okay, with Dalton Johnson, I'm Kerith Burke. Thank you so much for watching. The Warriors have a massive blowout win to start 2025. Good vibes for everybody.
Undefeated.
And we'll see you next time. I thought we were just going to talk about the schedule.
You're fine.
Well, YouTube watchers, we got a double dip on that All-Star stuff. I thought we were just going to talk about the schedule. The Jimmy Butler stuff. Okay. So it got so bad that Pat Riley released that statement, right? We are not trading Jimmy Butler. And then Jimmy Butler's agent was arguing with Shams about those reports. Like, he's not going anywhere, Shams, whatever. And then tonight, if you hadn't seen the video already, Jimmy Butler was asked a question about, I don't even know how the reporter phrased it. I only saw little snippets of it, but like, can you play with joy anymore? And he's like, no, not
Yeah, I mean, he
Miami.
basically first said that, like,
Yeah.
I've lost my joy on the basketball court.
Yeah.
He says, I have a lot of joy in Miami off the
Yeah.
court, love the people. And then the follow-up was, can you refine that
Yeah,
here
he's
with
like,
the Heat?
"No, I
and he
don't
said,
think so."
probably not.
Whoa.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty indication. and now there's a full-on report on ESPN that he has fully requested a trade by the Miami Heat. So it will be very interesting.
Once you cross over that line, and that line was sort of crossed tonight, there's no coming back from that. Like, once a
Exactly,
player's
right,
like, I
yeah.
want to be
I mean,
I
I-
wanna be
yeah.
traded.
It's going to take a lot because, I mean, I think Pat Riley, he has to be thinking about the present and the future when it comes to Jimmy Butler, his contract, his age, and he doesn't want to just get him away for anything.
No, for peanuts,
but
no.
for other teams, it takes a lot to just match that contract. So the Jimmy Butler drama, I think, has only just begun. But like you said, I think once you cross the line that he did tonight,
It's crossed, man.
you've crossed
coming
it.
back.
Yeah, I mean, like, there's no jumping back. No. You crossed that line.
No, the
Yeah.
toothpaste is not going back in there.
No, not at all.
Anyway, all right, so that was a fun tangent. But yeah, keep an eye on the Jimmy Butler trade, and thank you guys for watching. We'll be back with a Dubstock podcast tomorrow. Adios.